Good evening. We're back with another Purple and Gold Table Talk. I'm your host, Haven Nelson. I got two wonderful guests with me. This is going to be based on mental health. As you know, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So I brought two guests who are thoroughly immersed in the mental health field in two different lanes. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves. Let you go first. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jamaica West. I am a mental health social worker. Well, I'm a social worker. I have an MSW. I also have a business in mental health. And so what we do is we deal with children that are in foster care. We make sure we provide individual therapy, family therapy, parenting, education, and things of that nature in Georgia.
I love it. That's what's up.
What part of Georgia?
Look,
Oh,
the whole
we
state.
got the whole state.
You cover the whole thing.
Look at that.
The whole thing.
That's your.
Come on, you can follow it up.
Man, all right, well, check. So
Yeah.
let me look at the camera. I'm cold smooth.
That's what's up.
So yeah, I'm cold smooth. I'm a mental and sexual health educator for teen and adolescent pregnancy prevention for inner city students. I'm a strength coach with a background in mechanical engineering. I have continued education in neurological and chronic pain. I've been in my career going on 12 years now. I do a lot. Tactical training for the armed forces, excuse me, Marine Corps, Navy SEAL, Special Forces, Olympic track and field athletes. So I have two athletes currently on the USA Olympic track and field team, coaching over 13 different countries, youth athletes, general population, general wellness. I work with exercise physiologists to help combat cardiovascular and chronic disease, program for neurosurgeons, neuroscientists. I do a lot.
Bro,
So
he just gave us a whole resume.
I know, right? I need to go back and get my resume.
No, because you gotta go back and forth. Now, you anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm thinking like I need to add a little bit more.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I got one more thing. One more thing.
Okay, come on, give it to it.
I got my degrees in kinesiology and mechanical engineering.
Come on now.
Drop the mic.
There you go. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. That's good. That's what I like to hear, man. So
Yeah, man.
wonderful. So let's jump into it.
That's right.
I know both you all deal with people, especially in the Black community, with mental health.
Right.
So what I would like to hear is your specific lanes. Like, how do you, what are you doing on a daily basis when you're addressing that field, and then also what are you doing? Like, how are you helping that aspect?
Yeah.
Okay, for me, it's kind of two-sided because I run a company.
Okay.
So with my company that I run, we deal with children that are in foster care, and so with that, we have people that go out and sit with the children, teach them coping skills, teach them how to engage with other people, because you have a lot of children that have conduct disorder, different things of that nature, or different adjustment disorders or traumas that have happened to them that brought them into the foster care system. I've done that for a long time. Actually, that was my first job when I got out of college. Okay. And so I just found a passion for helping children and families. And so on the other side, I started doing a bunch of therapy, meaning family, individual, and I fell in love with that. So part of me, I run this business, and the other part of me, I do therapy. Okay. So I work with people that have schizophrenia, major depression, if they're bipolar disorder, borderline clients, I have different ones. So daily, I'm in between both.
Full spectrum.
That's
what's up. That's great. I love to hear it. All right, okay.
That's right.
Yeah, that was good. Love to hear it. Okay, how about yourself? Yeah, come on with it. Give me your lane.
Well, the uniquity of my field is I've had to manually incorporate a lot of that. So most of the time when it comes to fitness coaches and personal trainers, they don't necessarily go the avenue of mental health or just even understanding psychology and the depths of psychology and how it's applicable to our health and wellness, understanding the different the various levels, if you will. So what I see on a day-to-day, because I've worked with trauma victims for about 8 years now, so I've had to work with people, whether it's sexual assault, physical abuse, or even car wrecks, or even sports-related traumas, you know what I mean? So in the athletic community, there was just, for example, I just saw 3 soccer players just committed suicide.
Yeah, I see that too.
And they get in these positions because people are just now starting to highlight mental health. You know what I'm saying? That's something that has been the forefront of my coaching for a long time, because you do have individuals who come from broken households that these coaches and trainers, they don't take into consideration when it comes to molding that individual. So there is a level of mentorship that I'm responsible for upholding and taking and adhering to when it comes to working with the youth and also the adults. And I feel also that there's a disconnection within understanding the traumas within the adult community as well. So that's one of the things that I make sure that I spearhead when I do interact with my people. So I see various traumas all the time. You know, like I said, it may be physical, or it may just be, you know, somebody went through a divorce. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody, their kids been acting up, or these kids in school, they've been acting up. And when they come to, when they come to be able to work out with me, that's the only time that they truly get or able to release. So not only do I just create that environment where it's positive enough for them to grow and they feel vulnerable enough and feel comfortable enough to express themselves to me, but we also address why. So like, why is it that I'm the only person that you feel comfortable being around? Why is it that when you get here, this is the only time that you feel comfortable with releasing? You know what I'm saying? So really, I just want to, and what I do is highlight the things that other individuals don't, whether it's not within the household or whether it's not within the school system. I make sure that I highlight those things.
Yeah, I hear from both of you all the trauma and what the PTSD that's caused by trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm hearing too is how they coping through physical wellness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On the flip side with your business, like, and I heard you say coping, right? You have a lot of people coming in with those issues. What are some of these coping mechanisms you have found to be very beneficial to these families?
Well, what he just said that I wanted to piggyback on real quick was you have to deal, and I think a lot of people don't deal with the whole person, because people just deal with the surface. You know, you put these kids in school and they are coming into school with all these issues that happen in their environment.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to school, you're getting these behaviors that are being exhibited that they are constantly dealing with, and nobody's really talking about it, because you have, especially with school systems, they have to teach them. They have to be able to tell them, okay, go do this, go that. Then you got your mom or dad wanting to say, well, you better play ball because this is what we need you to do. But they're not dealing with the mental health of it all. So with that, you teach them how to cope, how to redirect their anger, how to first identify that they have anger issues and why are they angry? What is it coming from? And once you can deal with that person and understand where is it coming from, then you can start getting them to cope and breathe. I try to, when I deal with my clients, I try to deal with the root of the problem. Because to me, if we don't ever get to the root, we're never going to deal with the problem. We're just going to sugarcoat it. We're going to surface everything that's going on. Yeah. And so for me, I've seen a lot of traumas passed down to children, families, adults that haven't dealt with their trauma or their issues that they, mom, dad, or somebody did to them, and they put it on their kids, and it just keep going, and the cycle is there. And so if you don't stop it, or especially in our community, we don't like to talk about it. We think we have this big stigma against it. But now lately, there has been a lot of talk, which I'm so proud about, that they're talking about mental health, because when I look and see, okay, now the conversation is opening up. And not only is the conversation opening up, people are starting to take action and really see how you need to talk to somebody. You need to release, and you need someone that understands you and that is able to deal with you on a level and start where you are. And that's what we try to do, or I try to do as a professional, because we have an ethical responsibility to make sure that we take care of the whole person.
Right. I got something to piggyback off of what you said when it comes to digging down to the why. So digging down, like, why are you angry? So with the individuals that I work with, not only do you, and I know you do it as well, but I know it's just something that wasn't said, not only do you highlight or find out why, but also normalize it that it is okay for you to feel this way.
Yeah.
And that's
Most
something
people like others feel that way.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, in order for you to truly be able to embrace your emotions, you first have to be able to understand, like, it's okay for me to feel this way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm angry. You know what I mean? what's causing me to be angry, but I can't answer why if I'm not in the mental space to, okay, you know what, this is how I'm feeling. Let me take a second to process it. See, most people want to accept it. You don't only just accept it, but you also have to embrace that. Like you gotta be able to live in that moment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that is something that is a part of you, and that's something that's becoming a part not only of you but also the other individuals that are around you as well. Because those other people are they're in the crossfire of that energy. When you teach those type of principles, not a method, but those type of principles, those things that you live on and that you abide by, when we're highlighting those type of things, we're making it to where you can be more efficient as a human being. So when you do come across this situation again, you can actually take the time to think. You can actually take the time to evaluate this situation. You can actually take the time to react. And reacting is being able to act again. So what did I learn from the last time so I can make sure that I apply the proper things this time? So, yeah.
I love it.
Good job, man.
I already see where this going to go. I love it. I just love it.
All right, so earlier I think one of you all mentioned the feeling safe. Like, I think you said why you feel safe right now talking to me, right? Like a safe place.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned the same thing too about a safe place. So specifically with Black men, do you feel like there's a safe place for us to express ourselves? Number one, and then number two, I mean, if not, like, why, right? Where can we go? Why do you think it's a hold up? Is there one and we're just kind of reluctant from going there or talking about it? Thoughts?
Yeah.
You want me to start or you gonna go?
Either way.
I mean, yeah, it's a safe place. Like, you know
Go
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel, well, I speak on thoughts. I don't speak on feelings, but what my feeling
That's the right
towards
way,
it,
yeah.
but I'm going to highlight it so I don't come across sounding like an a-hole or nothing. But my feelings towards it is we do have a safe space. We are just not advantageous with our efforts when it comes to immersing ourselves or putting ourselves, if you will, in that safe place. We're comfortable enough to open up to our homeboys. We comfortable enough to open up to these random women that we have sex with. But when it comes to your ride or die, when it comes to your best friend, supposedly your best friend, the person who you're supposed to grow with, the person who you made a kid with, you're not opening up to them. They gonna see the worst of you.
But why? Why do you think that?
Because you got to be vulnerable. In order to be touched, you have to be vulnerable.
I mean, but why
You know
do
what
you
I'm
think
saying?
that there's a hesitation in doing that?
Because they was hurt at a point in time, and they haven't found any closure on that situation. They haven't they haven't worked towards getting past that.
Okay.
You know, we go through these traumatic experiences, but we hold on to that. Everybody wants to have that one story to where it's just like, oh, well, I come from the trenches. Oh, well, I come from the gutter. Oh, well, I went through this and I went through that. And in actuality, somebody probably just, you probably wanted to get a kiss from a girl and she curves you in front of everybody and that just hurt your feelings. And you didn't know how to take rejection. You didn't understand no means no. And that could go off into a whole different conversation. We could take it there later. But, you know, that's exactly what I teach on. But they couldn't handle that light being on them in a form of humiliation because they had no humility to show to begin with. Okay. So they hang on to that. That's something that as long as I have this, I can validate why I'm combating you. Why aren't you letting me in? Because this one time, or, well, I just went through these things because I don't know how to deal with it because I haven't been taught. That's something in my household that I haven't seen. Emotional awareness, emotional intellect, being able to actually process that, being mature enough to release that, and being mature enough to move past that. There's individuals that still hang on to these things just because they want to be a part of the in crowd of, I've gone through this and I've gone through that. And now we're coming to that point in time where it's like, well, hell, everybody got something to go through. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't trauma bond.
Right.
And that's what people be trying to do. They be trying to trauma bond.
They
Trauma
actually
bond.
do.
You dig what I'm
A lot of
saying?
people are together because they trauma bond.
Exactly. So how strong is that relationship within itself when it's standing on a falsified foundation to begin with?
It's not, because once that's over and one particular person grows, then they start looking at them differently. And
Exactly.
they like, you're not even growing with me. Well, we're not on that same bond no more.
Exactly.
So.
And just trying to fault individuals in the household. Like, we see how black men treat our queens, our younger and our older queens, our black women, our women of color. We see that there's not a positive relationship established, but it stems from, oh, well, my mama this, and oh, well, my sister that. But sometimes you don't necessarily take into consideration why mama was not able to give you these things.
So
Mama
what's
had
crazy is, I mean, you'll meet people, you'll meet men who have great mothers.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And still act a certain way. Like, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just trying to, like you said earlier, fit into the in crowd, but there's just people who have great mothers, who have great upbringing, and still would hold on like they just been dogged and I can't open up.
They don't have that. They just don't have that maturity.
Yeah.
When I went through my first heartbreak, my mama didn't walk me through that. She just said, "Son, it is what it is." My mom and daddy from the old school. My mom and dad, they in their 70s.
You're young, you'll find another.
You dig what I'm? Yeah. And that's being realistic. You know what I'm saying? But at that point in time, I just wanted you to be able to recognize that, hey, I do have feelings. Can I cry in front of you for a hot second? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But my mama, she was an educator for over 40 years. She has to console her energy to be able to go and deal with these kids. I was mature enough at that point in time to understand that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody doesn't have that maturity, especially at a younger age. So even when you do come across these traumatic experiences at a younger age, if you never encounter a situation where you can reflect upon that and say, you know what? I understand why this was her response. I understand why this was his response. You're going to keep holding on to it. Yeah. So I do feel that black men, we do have a place to be safe, and that's the place that we choose. We just don't be choosing the right place.
Okay.
Drops the mic.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Well, okay, so I had a couple of pointers I was sitting there listening to.
Okay. All right.
So one of the things that you said that I agree with, that black men do have a safe place, but they love to talk to their homeboys. Y'all will talk to y'all homeboy before you talk to anyone else, and you will address your issues. But I think sometimes that men feel like, because of the injustices that they've had in their life, when you look at things like, George Floyd, those type of traumas, or you look at y'all got so much weight on y'all that y'all have to be the man, the provider, this, that, and the third. You don't have time to really show a side of weakness. You may have a queen there that wants you to show that weakness, but you don't want to seem weak to them because they're expecting and looking up to you to provide and be the leader of the household. And when you are the leader of the household, you feel like there is no room for error, And so, but there is. Yeah. And men have to have this space where they can talk to someone, especially someone who is of their culture, to understand them. Because most men don't feel comfortable going and talk to, not being funny, a Caucasian individual about what's going on in the home with them and how they feel, because it can transition to something else in 5 minutes. What we may word and how we talk to each other outside of being professional may not be how they taking it at that moment. And so men don't feel like they have that safe space to do that. So they do it with their homeboys, or they do it with the wrong women instead of the one that they supposed to be aligned with, And I think a lot of times that we've gotten away, as black people, we have gotten away from the family. What has been ordained for us for to happen. It should be the man running the household, the woman. This might get on somebody's head, but that's just what it is. And then everybody doing what they need to do. You can have a helpmate. She is there to help, because 9 times out of 10 in the back, she is running it. But at the end of the day, you're posted up. You're posted up as who is the man of the home and taking care and providing. And men just feel like, to me, the men that I've talked to, they feel like they can talk to their homeboys, but they can't just be out here looking weak all the time. They don't want to. Because the minute you show a sign of weakness with a woman, or even with the police or anybody, you are already vulnerable to what the negative connotation.
So that seems stressful itself, though.
It's
always
stressful.
having
It is.
to walk that tightrope, about, is it weak? Am I vulnerable? Am I too vulnerable? Right? How vulnerable? How do you draw that line of saying, like, all right, I'm going to show emotions, fine, but not too emotional, because I still had to be a man at the same time, right? Or is that a stigma that needs to be kind of
it needs to be broken down, because I think that men need to understand that at the end of the day, especially if you're being vulnerable with a woman, at the end of the day, she's there to help build you and help keep you going and help keep you motivated, because she know when you walk out that door, hey, it's a blessing if you get back home. You know what I mean? Right. So if you have that type of woman that knows, or that type of friend, just a male counterpart, your homeboy that know, listen, hey, bro, I got you, pray for you, be safe out there, you know, because it's so much pressure to me for y'all to live up to than any other race there is. I mean, y'all live up to so much pressure. You can't walk into a grocery store. You can't walk into a store without someone thinking, oh, what they doing. You might look like somebody else, but you could be a professional individual and they think, oh, he got on the hoodie. He just like them. And so you're always kind of battling these things in your mind that cause paranoia, that cause you to look at these things that are happening, the systemic racism that's going on. You have all this against y'all. And not saying to be paranoid about it, but it's like it's going through your mind all the time.
But it's hard not to be paranoid about it.
I know.
You know, I mean, if you ask a black man, have you ever been pulled over, right?
I know.
Literally, and they run your stuff, oh, you ain't got no warrants, you can go type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's happened to almost all of us, where you know it's just pulling over just because they see who you are, you know? And it could be deeper than it. But I know everybody's been, at some point, been a profile.
Yeah.
And you know, that causes that anxiety and that stress in the society you're walking through. Man, and you made a good point about being the man of the household, right? So I've had conversations with other men, and we talk about ambition. And you want it to be strong and successful, we want to take it to another level with each generation, and feeling that responsibility and that weight on your shoulders, especially as a black man. So just hearing that, like, are you hearing that with some of the people you may talk to, or how do you kind of walk them through that?
So what I think, it depends on the level of ambition that you're going for. You know, I think that people, let me not say people, I think that sometimes we as a culture, we think that once somebody gets so far up, they done made it out, you know, and they can't turn around and give back. And so it starts to take away, because they feel the pressures of, I got to be able to do this for this person. You take the athletes, you know, once they become, this week is the draft. Once they become get in the NFL, then they already feeling the pressures of taking care of family members that they haven't seen in 20 years, you know. But they feel like they got to keep going to make it better for their families. And when you feel that way, there is a level of anxiety, there's a level of pressure that makes you as a man, I believe, feel like I can't do nothing else but keep going, whether it takes away from me or not, or take away from my family. When the reality is, if you look back in time, when men were slaves and they were the ones that were getting beat, or, you know, they were protecting the family, they made sure that no matter what happened to them, those women were somewhere safe. Even though the people came in and took them out and drug them and did what they need to do with them, they had an obligation to make sure they're safe. And I think that kind of is at some point a continuum with our black men, but then there are some that it is not, because it's so many things that have been open that it shouldn't be. I'll say it like that. Okay. Try to be as politically correct as I can.
I understood.
So check. So one, the strongest people have the weakest moments. So that's something that should be understood and always is understood. Two, if I have a wife and a daughter, you have a wife and a daughter, two gentlemen over here have a wife and a daughter, we're all cousins, all right? Or we could be brothers. Why am I worrying about what your wife and daughter has going on when they have a man that's supposed to be there to provide for them? They are men that's supposed to be, we make problems for ourselves at times. So when we're thinking about, I'm going to the league, I'm making all this hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. That's for my mama, my daddy, my wife, and my daughter, and my son. That's for my immediate family. Why am I worrying about this auntie that I don't talk to no more, this cousin who I don't talk to no more? Why am I worrying about that? You dig what I'm saying? Why is that now my responsibility because all of a sudden I have money? Negro, you got people to go and support you. That ain't, you not my responsibility. But we make ourselves think that because that's that hood mentality.
That's that hood mentality.
I gotta bring the whole hood up out of the hell you don't.
No, you don't.
You ain't gotta do nothing but stay black and die. You ain't even gotta pay taxes. That's another conversation for another day. You dig what I'm saying? Like that's where we go with it. So like when I get into these type conversations when we're talking about mental health, I'm just like, we're gonna talk about it. Like, let's get funky with it. Like let's go and get down into the nitty gritty with it. You dig what I'm saying? You have to handle your responsibilities
first, right?
You can't handle everybody else. You dig what I'm saying?
But you have to, and I don't mean to cut you off,
No, you
but you
cool.
have to break that from the person. People don't feel like they can be broken from that. So you got to compartmentalize it and make sure that they understand that that's not your responsibility when that's all that has been embedded in them all their life. I mean, you can look at somebody, they don't even have to be in the NFL. You could just be a regular Blow Joe who went and got an engineering degree. And your grandmama and mama them, they think, well, he done made it. You know,
like you know,
like you obligated.
Yeah. A lot of people like you lucky to make it, right?
Right.
So it's like, man, we didn't have that same opportunity, right? It's that mentality of like just putting it on. A lot of people put that on people, right? Like,
but we have people putting out things on other individuals because they want to live through them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that I was going to say that you mentioned about, this is what they're taught. We have individuals who are doing the teachings who haven't done enough studying.
Absolutely.
We have people instilling how you're supposed to be as an individual, but they themselves aren't even comfortable with who they are in the mirror. They can't recognize the person who is looking back at them. What's the falsified foundation that the generations now and to come are standing on? It starts with you. We always say the youth is and or are the future. No, you're the future because they're going to emulate what it is that you are presenting them. They're going to abide by what it is that you are teaching them. Yep. You dig what I'm saying? So it all comes down to whoever is doing this teaching, do they know themselves? And if they don't know themselves, why is it that I'm going to take the time to fully invest all of my attention to go and listen to you? That's why it's a twofold thing. You know what I'm saying? Not only are we working with the youth, but we're also working with the adults. And I'm glad that we're actually highlighting both aspects because I know you've been off on like either podcasts or conversations in general. When we do talk about mental health, we always end up going back towards the kids. It is just about the kids. And it's just like, well, you're grown, so, you know, suck it up. Oh, you got these traumas. Oh, well, get over it. Oh, well, no, because you got to go and support your family. Oh, well, you got to go and get this check. Oh, well, your man's at home and you ain't giving him none, girl. You better go give him some before some other woman try to go give him some. But before he go and lose your attention, it's just like, no. That's why we talk about normalizing feeling sad. Normalize, hey, I'm anxious. Normalize, I think I have depression. I may have to go get checked. And stop trying to Dr. Google everything. You invest your money into all of these materialistic things, these clothes, and these you talk about you want to save money, but then you out here going to go get fast food, baby, and try to save no money. Put that money to the side the same way that you do for these trips that you want to go on and all this layaway for these Christmas gifts that you want to get and invest into yourself.
Hey, he just spoke to somebody directly
because
he just looked at the camera.
I'm looking at both these cameras.
Line. I got me tell you.
If it applies to you, then it applies to you. But no, for real though, that's just something that, you know, we as a culture we need to look at. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so peculiar. And also a shame in a sense, and even amazing when you do analyze some of these things that we are so dominant as a people, but we are so broken as an individual. So can we even say the dominancy that we stand on, are we actually upholding that? Are we actually carrying those traditions? That's why we have these talks, to be able to challenge each other and to challenge the viewers and the listeners to be able to say, you know what, I'm not living that walk. I'm not actually like talking that talk, but I have the potential. everybody's great. You just have to be in the right environment for that greatness to shine and that greatness to be able to illuminate so other individuals can see what it is that you're trying to show them.
Right.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah. And with kids, I know you said we always talk about the kids.
But no, we're going to talk about it for sure,
You know
man.
what I'm saying? I know it always go back to the kids, but I got to take it to the kids. You brought them up. So I know there's a constant struggle with, especially on the men's side, how that line of being too soft or too hard on your kids. You know, you wanna make them where they, especially boys, right? Specifically boys.
Yeah,
You know, you're not really with your daughter, but with the boys, you want to make sure they're the men. You know what I'm saying?
They're
the man.
men, yeah.
The man. They stand on their own 10 toes and they taking that. Which you want to teach that, but when is the line of like, well, I'm being too hard on them versus I'm being too soft on them? I know you deal with a lot of kids. You know what I'm saying? I know you do too.
You want to take it first?
I go either way.
Because I know we're going to say.
You know, y'all go either way.
Well, see, let me say this. So I'm a mom first, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a mom, you know, and you see your little cousins or your little nephews or whatever, and they daddy punching them and or just, and it's like, whoa, let's have a conversation.
Right.
Like as a mom, you want to have that balance with them. I think that I get that the men feel like, hey, listen, you need to be a man because you need to understand this, but you also need to say and go back and have that same conversation and say, if they're crying, I understand you crying, but know this, it's okay to cry. But you get back up and you keep going. You still give them that positive reinforcement.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
That's that balance that they got to have. Because some parents, the way I had a conversation, but I won't go into it. But I had a conversation with someone. The way that father was parenting that child, it was harsh, borderline, could have been abuse.
Right.
But if they would have went back and said, I understand why you're doing this, but you keep going. So whether I'm disciplining you or not, I'm still going to give you some positive reinforcement.
Yes.
And I think that's what we, especially Black people, we used to, hey, whoop that, but get up out of here and go on.
Yeah.
When we don't even want to talk, we just want to, and we don't want to talk and grab. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be firm, be disciplined, but then turn around and say, hey, listen, I love you. This is why daddy wants you to be this way. Kids will hear you. They absorb. They're looking at you.
Yes.
They're actually looking at you. And if they are crying, they're going to cry. And you say, you cry this time, but you get back up and you do it again. And if you got to fall down, you do it again. You keep reinforcing that.
Right.
But as fathers, I know it is so much harder, especially Black fathers. It's so much harder because you don't want them to appear weak. Pretty much. You don't want nobody to run over your son and he around here just, somebody just taking advantage of him.
Yeah.
As a mother, you wouldn't want that either.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you still explain and you talk to them and give them a reason why. To me, one thing that I respect about my mom, and I respect everything about her, but one thing I respect, I remember one time I wanted to do something and she would not let me do it. So I was going to try to sneak and go, and she caught me. And when she caught me, the thing that she told me that I love and I cherish is I was 14 at the time. She said, if you tell me the truth, I can help you. But if you lie to me, I can't help you. She came back and had a conversation with me.
Right.
I never lied to my mama from that day forth. I was always honest because she taught me to be honest with yourself. You can't be fake with nobody. You know what I mean? And that helped mold me as a person because she came back and talked to me, And when we had that conversation, I have translated that onto my daughter.
Right.
I'll tell her, hey, you can listen to this song right here, but understand what that means.
Exactly.
I don't care if they out here calling somebody a B. You're not going to do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to make sure I come and speak to you about what this looks like long term for you. And if you do it with your sons and your children, they will begin to respect the adults because you find a lot of kids that they just don't respect adults, but it's what they see at home. And to me, everything starts at home. You putting it all out on the street. You can't get mad at the school teacher if you're not teaching them. You can't get mad at nobody if you're not teaching your child and dealing with your child the way you need to, and then you take them out there and expect them to be a productive citizen in the community. That's not going to happen. So you got to have these conversations and you got to take time even if you are, like you said earlier, ambitious and you're trying to build a career and provide, take time to talk to your kids. You'll be surprised at what you will
I
learn.
know that's right.
You'll be surprised at what you would understand that's happening to them, what emotional state that they go through day to day in school. If you take time to really just talk to your kid and find out what's up, you'll know everything. When I walk in my daughter's school, everybody know who I am. Number one, I'm gonna take time. I don't care what my career looks like. My number one priority is to groom her to be the best adult that she can be,
Right.
and that she is a productive citizen in society.
Right.
That she understands you have to respect people and yourself. You know, and that builds your mental health. That builds your self-esteem, your self-worth. If we had a billion of us, like all of us, trying to get together and help build each other's children, and even as the parents, build them. Man, you got that community, we will be awesome.
Exactly.
Like a village.
So that's my thing when it come back to the kids.
So I'm gonna bounce on the other end.
Okay.
Still from a man's standpoint, but I'm gonna bounce on the other end. So first and foremost, I don't have kids. I'm allergic to them. So let's just go ahead and get out of the way right now. But in my line of work with mental health and sexual education, I do have to deal with a lot of young women, a lot of all girl classes. And one thing that I will say that a man fears, because we was talking about the son, I'm talking about the father to the daughter. One thing that a man fears, or some men fear, I'm not gonna say all, but they don't want their daughter to encounter an individual that
Like
he
him.
used to be. You know what I'm saying? Or he may still be, who knows? But that's a fear for a father. So sometimes, you know, the father is actually hard on the daughter when it comes to things that she's exposed to, when it comes to things that she is not supposed to learn. But one thing that a father has to understand when it comes to raising his daughter, and just his son as well, is if you don't teach them, the streets will.
They will.
We're in that generation right now to where, or that time, however, to where they can access everything on social media. Like my 8 and 9-year-olds ask me questions that I wasn't even asking at 17 or 18.
Absolutely.
You dig what I'm saying? So when I'm in there with the kids, or with the young women, I have to highlight to a lot of the parents, because they do have to practice putting a condom on the penis. They do have to, the boys do have to practice putting a female condom on, like the vagina, you know, whatever, the vaginal model. They do have to practice on like actual insertion or like whatever, and like practice these methods and these mechanics, right? And I had a conversation with a couple of fathers, and they was pissed. They was just like, bro, what? Like, they're touching penises. And, like, you know, we made it interactive. So it was like, yo, y'all have a race to see who could put the condom on the fastest, blindfolded, whatever. And they had such a problem with that. And they was just like, bro, they don't need to be doing that, bro. I ain't never gonna have that talk with my daughter. And it's like, that's why the kidnapping rate is so high. That's why molestation and rape is so high. Because the program that I'm with, we are Power Through Choices. So that was one of the programs, but we pride ourselves on choices. So teaching these kids how to communicate with each other, how to communicate with their partner, how to communicate with their parent, how to communicate with the guardian, the counselor, the teacher, how to allocate resources at these clinics, right? So we go over forms of communication, whether it's passive, assertive, or aggressive, right? And I do that with all my kids, whether I'm in the classroom or just whatever. But a lot of these things are preventable if they knew how to communicate. Well, if you're not teaching your daughter how to communicate, you're continually trying to shield her from that. But then when she pops up pregnant, all of a sudden you want her to know all of these things. When she catches an STD or an STI, you want her to know all of these things. If she does get into a situation to where she's been assaulted, is why didn't you know? Is no, why didn't you teach? Why didn't you expose? Why didn't you give them an opportunity to learn these things? And sometimes it gets to the point where, well, I don't know if they're at that age to where they need to learn. And this is like, bro, these kids are doing things as early as 3rd and 4th grade. So I was like, let's be real. So like, people are trying to go around preaching about abstinence and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, no, we need to start preaching more about protection, because at the end of the day, no matter how hard you work, your kid may or may not be out there doing whatever. And that's just something that's the actuality of the situation. So when it comes to a father dealing with his daughter, like there is fear. It's just like, dang, like you start thinking sometimes like, oh man, like, I remember when I did this one time, and dang, I got that hurtful text. Whereas it's like, oh yeah, you really messed me up. Or I remember, I know I did something hurtful, and this person can't even look me in the eyes no more. It's just like, damn, like what if my daughter has to look at somebody that way? What if my daughter has to go and get that text? What if my daughter's actually the one that's doing the texting? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's on both sides. It's like a fear of, like, I want to make you hard enough to be able to deal with society, and then on the other end, it's like I want to put you in a position to be smart enough to where you don't encounter my past personas, my past selves, or even individuals in my family who I know who have been like that. I don't want you to come across that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I feel like as a father, I'm not a father, but, all I can speak on is just my perspective of having to deal with individuals' daughters. Like, I see it. And, like, I see the pain in fathers' eyes, like, when they be coming in, and it's just like they daughter done told me something that they haven't even expressed it on. I got pulled them to the side, like, hey, yo, my boy, like, this is what your daughter woo. You know what I'm saying? And if it's an in-house conversation, I always respect the kid's privacy, because my word is bond. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to break that. You did what I'm saying? Yeah. But there are things where, I try to drop hints, and I'm just like, hey, bro, like, you need to go holler.
Check it out.
And, like, I am glad that, at least in my experience of the men that I've had to interact with, they are humble enough to say, hey, man, I don't know where to start. My mama ain't even talk with me like that. I ain't see my mama talk with, my sister like that. You did what I'm saying. And just seeing that how early of an age that it starts as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the younger men, like, I actually asked them, like, like 13 to 18, like, I sit there and ask them, like, yo, like, would y'all be cool with y'all sister or y'all cousin dating who you are as an individual? If there was another individual that acted just like you, man, no, hell no. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a whole problem.
And one thing that you said earlier, about just children in general, there are a lot of sex trafficking going on.
Yes, a lot.
It's a lot.
And
like
it's getting
Georgia,
higher.
Georgia is one of the main hubs for sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So when you have these children and especially young girls, and you want to teach your young boys, not even young men are being sex trafficked.
Yes.
And it's not talked about enough. And it's our community that you see the highest rate. They going and coming. It's affecting their mental health. So again, as parents, or not even as parents, because I commend you to be doing the things that you're doing, and you are talking about mental health, because it deals with your mind and mess you up, and you got so much to unpack when people have been traumatized in those areas. Not only are they dealing with generational curses that they've had from their parents, but now they've got invested and involved with some man or some woman half the time that is trafficking them all over the state and just telling them you're nothing.
Exactly.
Do you understand how you got to unpack that? You got to unpack what you are. So when you say, is it too much? It's having that conversation of communication. It's just really communication. People don't realize communication will solve a lot of things.
It will.
Because if you have an open dialogue with your children, with your bros, with anybody about just mental health, and how, just asking somebody how they doing.
Yes.
How
and
are
meaning
you?
it.
And meaning it.
Yes.
Because people
receptive.
do not listen. Like, I have seen people, or I've had people myself to call and just talk because I'm the therapist.
Right. Right. Like, just because this is our line of work. Yeah.
Right.
And you have a lot that you have to unpack. And so if you just walk by me and you just like, well, she's a strong person. Yeah, I may be, but ask me how I'm doing. Am I okay? Yeah. Is everything? And don't just be, am I okay to get in my business? Ask me, am I okay? And really mean it from a place of, is everything going well with you? Is there anything that I can do to help relieve some of your pressures?
That's
because people don't do that, but people don't want the responsibility of doing that.
They don't.
They don't. When people ask, like, how are you doing, right? I've been one of the ones who I'm like, I'm straight. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll tell you I'm messed up.
Yeah. So, and that's what I want to say. Like, I've been, that's something I've consciously, like, hey, I'm going to do a better job. Actually, how am I doing for real? But you got to be a safe place, like we talked about earlier, right? You can't just be everybody.
Or you have like a mental check-in. You check in with yourself on a rate.
Definitely.
I'm going to tell you what podcast. Now, I will say this. I'm not plugging them, but I love it. I love I Am Athlete podcast.
Okay.
And I love the women's edition, right? I love both of them. I love Chad because he's funny. But in the women's edition of it, their wives or girlfriends, they say on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing? And then they rate themselves as friends around the table. So one
Right.
might say I'm a 5, and she goes in further and say, okay, but what does that look like for you?
Right.
What does a 5 look like? So if I say,
Providing
hey,
context.
how are you doing? Like on a scale of 1 to 10 today, how are you? What
Oh,
is
I'm really
going
a
on?
5.
You really a 5?
I'm dead.
So what
I'm
does that
dead
look
as a
like?
5.
So then we can be able to dialogue, and then I can piggyback to you and say, what are some things I can do to help you to
Right,
relieve some of that?
Like actionable
Like
things.
actionable, like taking steps to help people that you love take
Right.
care of their mental health. Because one thing that I have learned and that I believe in, you may think you know somebody and they will kill themselves tomorrow.
I'm telling you.
Hey,
And that's the worst feeling
That's
to
the
ever
worst
go
feeling.
through.
Yeah.
that's the homework for the viewers. Tomorrow, ask somebody how they're doing on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And actually mean it.
And
Don't
mean
just do
it.
it because we're telling you that. Like
Yeah,
actually mean it.
Yeah, help them with some
like
action steps.
have some
That's big.
action behind it and make people feel like they matter.
Yeah.
Because one thing about it, if I feel like I matter to you, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to help you, and I'm sure you're gonna do
Factual.
whatever it takes to help me.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then we can build a relationship, or as friends, as family,
Yeah.
we can build that relationship to look out for one another. I may not be the one that you tell everything to, and that's okay.
Right.
But if it's something that you really need at that moment and you want to talk about it, know that it's safe here. It's not
Right.
going anywhere. And if it does go somewhere, then you'll be like, okay, I can't trust that no more, and you
Exactly.
move on. That's just
Exactly.
what it is. And you got to
Exactly.
take people for who they are. And once they show you, you go on.
And quit trying to mold people.
Woo.
Quit trying to make excuses for people.
Justifying.
Oh, well, they did
Oh, I
this
get it.
because no, what I saw is what I saw. I had to do that. With
Let
a
me tell
friend
you, I
one
had to
time.
learn not to keep giving everybody a benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
because that can hurt you and that can affect your mental health.
You're right. You're right.
When I lost my brother, I went through that.
People all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
You know, I've been yeah.
No, when I lost my brother, I went through that. Like it was the day after he had passed away, because I was actually at the scene when he died. So like I literally like seen everything, like doing CPR with an ordered it, and I still went back to Jacksonville, Alabama to go teach the next day because I was a head fitness instructor there, and I was sitting under the tree. I was sitting under the tree and I was crying before class, whatever. And then one of my students, she came and checked on me. Like one of my OGs, like love her, respected her to death. So one of my friends, well, they ain't a friend no more, but the person where we got close, like when I transferred them, whatever, like, they hit me up. They was like, hey, yo, I heard about your brother, woo, woo. They was like, how you feeling? I was like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm effed up. Like, nah, like that's my brother. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they was like, oh, dang, that's like, if you need anything, just let me know. And I was just like, I really need to talk. It's like, oh, man, well, I can't talk right now, but I ain't talked to them a day since. Because when you ask people how they're doing, you need to be in that space to where I may not be able to accept everything, but at least let me respectfully let you know if I can. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is something that I wasn't expecting, so please forgive me. When will I be able to call you back? Because right now I'm at work. Right now I have something with my kids. Right now I'm doing. When can I call you back? But if it's just you're doing a regular thing, like especially like being a pastor's kid, like I grew up around death. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen so many eulogies. It's ridiculous. I never ask people how they're doing. That's a dumbass question.
You know how they do.
It is. This is like, how you doing? Bro, what you mean?
Yeah.
Like, duh.
Yeah,
so it's just like, it's dumb and it's inconsiderate.
Yeah.
He's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Well, especially after if you have death.
Yeah.
So when you just your friend,
Right.
just
Yeah.
to check in, that's
Yeah.
different. But I will say people don't realize that even in death, the grief of it all, there are things that we know that you go through various stages.
Right,
of death.
right.
You have denial, you got anger, you're bargaining, trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
But what I just heard you say was, I saw my brother dead. I saw him them doing the CPR, right?
No, I was doing the CPR.
Oh, you were doing the CPR.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I was
So,
one of the
do
ones.
you know that just right there is what we're talking about today, the trauma and the PTSD, because you got to constantly rethink of that and
Exactly.
get that out your mind
Exactly.
and deal with that. So
Exactly.
how did you deal with that? Did you go to therapy?
No, I'm actually going to therapy this year. Like, this is like, so it happened in 2018. So it's like, I grew up in a household, like my daddy's Vietnam, my dad's a Storm Seal veteran, like infantry. You feel what I'm saying? So like, you already know how I grew up. That's just that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was always been emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware, but it's just like, you just come from that old school mentality of like, hey bro, like, at the end of the day, you got to go back to work. That's why I went to work the very next day. Like that's all I knew. You did what I'm saying? Like try to reach out to some friends. Yeah, try to reach out to some friends, talk this, that, and the third. You know, don't nobody answer. It's like, all right, woo, I'm gonna keep doing my thing. Like I got to. Like I got bills to pay. Like them bills ain't gonna stop just because you said. You feel me? But I got to a point to where like, you know what I'm saying? Like your traumas, like just because you don't deal with them now don't mean that they're not going to come back and haunt you later. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that problem's still there. You feel what I'm saying? So it had just got to a point where like I just cut a lot of clients off. I was making like dumb bread. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like making like 10, 15 bands a month type deal. And it's like I just wasn't happy with what it was I was doing because like I'm giving so much of my energy to people, but it's just like I had 25 clients, did not one of them ever ask me like, you know, how you doing? Like ever. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Ever. Never, ever, ever. Because it's just my position. Like you coach. Like you're supposed to mentor me. You're supposed to help me, whatever. So I cut a lot of people out. And I probably had like 2 clients. I probably went to the point where like, you know what I'm saying? I was about to be evicted because I had so much stuff I was paying for business. It just got to the point I made that big pay cut. And it's like, you know, it was a lot going on. But I was at peace. Like you're not down here to be happy and you're not down here to be sad. You feel what I'm saying? Like the same thing that made you happy can make you sad. You feel me? The same fire that warms you up is the same fire that can burn you. So you're not down here to just go based off of those emotions. Like you could be sad but still be at peace. So like I was really sad, you know what I'm saying? But I was at peace because I was like, this is the beginning of my healing process. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like this year, I turned 27. He passed away when he was 27. So that's why like my birthday was so significant to me. All I did was just go out to eat. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to see my friends. I wanted to go out to eat. That was a part of my healing for myself. You feel what I'm saying? Because I said 27 going to be my best year. Yeah. Even if I live to be 150 years old, if somebody asks me what's your best year, 27. It's just like it's for a reason. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's like we all have responsibilities when it comes to the continuation of a legacy. You dig what I'm saying? Like you don't want somebody to just be a name. You want it to be a legacy. You dig what I'm saying? And with that, yeah, sometimes there are some burdens that you do have to carry. You dig what I'm saying? So there are things that you have to do for yourself to make sure that you're straight. So like I really just became more about myself this year. A lot of people, they're afraid to do things for themselves because the absence thereof, they feel that they are a selfish individual. But I tell people straight up, like, it's okay for you to be selfish sometimes. It's okay for you to take your own time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to go and be like, just try to go and be overly nice to everybody. Like, you know what, I got to go do this for such and such and such and such. Like I said before, like they have a mama and a daddy. And if they don't have a mama and a daddy, they got somebody who now my daddy taught me, if they get off the phone with you, they gonna call somebody else. You dig what I'm saying? So now this year, I just made sure that I took those steps to just like make sure that when I go into situations, I enter in with a clear mind. Like, yeah, I may be at a 5 today, but I still have a clear mind. You know what I mean? Yeah, like got to, because I don't want to like, you got to be conscious of like what your mindset is when you're getting around other people. Like the way that you talk, the way that you walk, the way that you move, like everything in life is a behavior. You dig what I'm saying? And we all learn behaviors from somewhere, somehow, right? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I have to be cognitive of my behavioral status because that can affect how you interact with me. You know what I'm saying? Like if I came on this podcast and then like I just came on some BS and whatever, you're not really going to be too comfortable talking. So now Haven, when he's trying to go and mitigate the conversation, like, you know, moderate the conversation going back and forth, some of the openness that you had in your answers, you're not necessarily going to have that because I messed you up or because I was being immature with how I wanted to go and regulate my emotions, not taking the time to be like, hey, y'all, I know we got to start at this time, but y'all give me 5. Let me go outside. Let me go woosah real quick. Or let me just put y'all on game. Like, hey, this the headspace that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's your mental health. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you getting around the people, like, your mental health is also making sure that the individuals that are around you are aware of your mental status.
Because it could trigger.
Yes.
And yes. Don't want.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But one thing that he did say that I think men need to do, and I'm going to say this, is self-care.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that looks like for you guys, take care of yourself. Take time for yourself because it means a lot. I know that y'all probably like basketball or just, you know, like this week I said the draft. I like football.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So, but I mean, take time for yourself and don't feel like you're being selfish. Take time to love on you and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love me. And I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be and mean that. Don't just recite some affirmations or recite some things. take time for you, because when you're good, your family's good, your children are going to be good, everybody around you. But if you take time and take care of you, this right here, you can make.
I have a
magic.
professional question for you.
Oh God.
I have a very professional question for you, because this is something I've gone through myself, but I want to ask you. So, as a therapist, what are a couple of things, or even just one thing that you do to help navigate or even alleviate the daily stresses that you encounter? Because I do understand, like, you know, it is overwhelming to hear a lot of people's problems, and people think, like, just because you're a therapist that you're trained to go ahead and just push away those emotional attachments that individuals have to these situations. And it's like, humans don't work like that. Like, you're still accepting all of those emotions. You just have the maturity to understand how to cipher through things so you could get to the logic of things, or even understanding, okay, this is how I need to understand this emotion. I got you. Let me go ahead and separate this from my own attachment to how I would react to this situation or whatever. So what are things that you do as an individual to make sure that you balance yourself out so you can continue to be the great therapist that you are?
Well, I'll say that is something this year I've been learning to do, because I hadn't been doing it. I pour into people, and I would take every bit of what I have to pour into somebody. And when it started affecting me and affecting how I just dealt with things, even it started messing with my body a little bit. Not nothing major, but just like I was in a little pain. I'm trying to like figure out like what is going on.
Right.
I had to recognize that and say, listen, you got to take care of yourself. So I began to exercise when I can, you know, because sometimes I let my work life take over. And then, but I begin when I need to break, and I hear my body, I hear that I need to take a break. I'll tell my mom or tell whoever, hey, y'all got to take my daughter. Y'all got to go. And I just step away. I step away from social media. I step away from everybody to just take time for myself, and just not to have so many things going on, because as you're right, I'm always on, as they say. Like, I'm always ready. I believe in what I do a lot is solution focused. So I believe in solving the problem. We need to solve the problem, but how do we get there? How do we deal with that? And so for me, I had to learn that self-care is something that is good to do. So every month now, either I do something just for me. I'll leave town and I will go get a massage. I would leave town and I may just go and sit somewhere. And then sometimes I don't have to leave town. You know, I may just go down to the park or whatever, and I walk, and I just take time to clear my head. And you'll be surprised if you do that 3 or 4 times a week. It helps alleviate the stressors, because as a therapist, you take on everybody else's stuff. The things that we hear and we deal with daily is shocking, you know, and it's almost like you want to jump in, but then you can't jump in and help everybody in that capacity. But you learn your boundaries and you set those limits so that you can be healthy for your, you know, your workers. I mean, your clients and everybody. You know, my daughter, everybody has to get a version of me. And so when I see that it's affecting me, I'm going to stop and do what I need to do. But I had to not react like that all the time. And I had to start just taking the time and making sure listen, this is my day. If Wednesday is my day, Wednesday is my day. Don't bother me. Pick up the game, baby.
And you stand on that.
I stand on that. I keep that clear boundary. And it's helped. It's helped. I used to wouldn't do it because I was like, I don't want to burden nobody. I want to, you know, I'm going to just take you start messing up your own health. And you don't need to do that. It starts to affect you in other areas, you know. And so as a woman who, you know, you're trying to do what you need to do for your family, you still have to put yourself in a position to take care of yourself. You can take care of everybody else, and you don't take care of yourself. What good are you if you're gone? So
it's good. It's good. Self-reflection. Self-care.
Self-care.
Look, I think we're wrapping up, actually. Y'all,
we are.
This was good. I mean, time flew, didn't it? All right, so before we end it, is there anything additional you all would like to say, discuss, put out there for our viewers?
Take a second before you react or respond to a situation. So if somebody asks you a question, you don't have to immediately dignify that with a response. You can take time to process things And if you do get into a situation where things are beginning to elevate or things have gotten elevated and you become hurt, ask yourself, how did we get here? What was said or what was done that triggered me or made me respond the way that I did? Sometimes or too many times, we focus on this is what happened, this is where we are, oh, you did, da, 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 da. But it's like, do you understand why I reacted the way that I did? Right? So it's just like, if I call a woman a B word and then she decides to slap me, she's wrong for slapping me. But would she have slapped me if I never called her the B word? No. So how did we get here? Take ownership of your actions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's my biggest thing. Take ownership of your actions and quit making other people try to take ownership of your actions. And if you see something, this is my last thing I got to say. If you see an inconsistency or a fault in someone, really take time to step back and ask, where did this stem from? Sometimes individuals perform actions in friendships or in relationships that was done to them unconsciously, and they don't even know that they're performing those things. You see what I'm saying? Just like somebody get into a relationship and then all of a sudden they feel the need to go ahead and argue with you every time that you come in, not even knowing that their last relationship, they was the one who was getting argued at. Sometimes you become the people that you dislike or despise the most. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
Well, you said it a lot. I will say, I would just add to that then, back to the self-care, take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you are all that you have in this process, and you are one person. You have one journey. You have one life to live. And so eat well, take care of yourself, know what you're doing, how you're interacting with other people, but do it well. Live your life to the fullest, but live it in the most positive space that you can and deal with life accordingly. Don't always think somebody out to get you or do this or do that. Look at yourself, ask yourself questions, reflect on you, and be honest with yourself. You might not like what you see, but that is peeling away those layers and really getting to the heart and the grit of what it is. And when you do that, you'll be surprised, and you'll be surprised of the person you begin to like instead of dislike, and you will be surprised of the person that you are becoming, and it will make you an even better person. So you have to take care of yourself, and you definitely have to take care of your mental health.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
Look, thank both of you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
So many jewels that I personally can use in my life. So
Appreciate that.
I implore whoever's watching this video to really take action to these jewels that you all have dropped. It's very important for us to get together and work on ourselves personally, and be able to affect the people around us too, right? To be that light. It starts with yourself, right? And I appreciate you all taking the time to do this. So.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you all, and thank all the viewers out there, and we'll see you next
Hold
time.
on, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Where can we find you on social media?
Plug yourselves. Plug yourselves.
Plug.
All right. So plug yourselves. Social media.
My social media is yourtherapist_therapist.
All right, say it again one time.
Yourtherapist_therapist.
What platform is that on?
Instagram.
Is that the only platform we can find you on?
Yeah, I'm Jamaica West on Facebook, but I don't be on Facebook. I really love my Instagram.
We'll have to scratch that there. We'll just do this.
Just do the Instagram.
And Facebook personal. I got it.
All right. So my Instagram is @IamCoSmooth. My Twitter is @IamCoSmooth.
Okay.
My TikTok is @IamCoSmooth_ you thought, because I am CoSmooth.
No underscore. I am Coach Smooth. All right. Listen. All right, so you can find me on Instagram, Legendary Haven. And we'll see y'all next time, man.
Word.
This is good.